What if I told you that there exists a single moment in your life, one that arrives without announcement, without ceremony, a moment so quiet you might not even recognize it as it passes through you, yet it changes everything. It is the moment you stop chasing. The moment when your hands, which have been reaching outward for so long they've forgotten any other gesture, suddenly fall to your sides. Not in defeat, not in exhaustion, though exhaustion may have brought you there, but in something else, something that feels like an ending and a beginning folded into the same breath. You stop chasing them, whoever they are, the person who wouldn't see you, the love that wouldn't land, the approval that always seemed one more effort away, the recognition you thought would finally make you whole. And in that stopping, in that strange and disorienting stillness, something inside you that has been scattered, fragmented, pulled in 1,000 directions, begins to move. It begins to return, not to where it was before you started chasing, because you can never go back to that innocence, but to something deeper, something that was always there, waiting beneath the noise. Your center. Most people never notice this moment when it happens. They are too busy interpreting it as failure. They feel the stopping as loss. They think something has gone wrong, that they have given up, that they have somehow become less than they were when they were still reaching, still hoping, still trying to make someone see them the way they needed to be seen. But what if the opposite were true? What if this moment, this quiet falling away of pursuit, were not an ending at all, but the first true movement toward yourself? What if everything you thought you were chasing out, there was only ever a reflection, a symbol, a stand-in for something you lost inside yourself long ago, something you didn't even know you had misplaced until you finally stopped looking everywhere else for it? There's a feeling that comes with this stopping. It is not relief, not at first. It is more like the sensation of a muscle that has been clenched for so long it has forgotten it was clenched, and now, suddenly, it releases. There is an ache in that release, a tenderness. You feel exposed, vulnerable, because when you stop chasing, you also stop the story you were telling yourself about why you were chasing. You stop the narrative that said, if only they would love me, if only they would choose me, if only they would see me, then I would be okay. And without that story, without that forward motion, you are left with yourself. Just yourself. And that can feel like standing naked in an empty room with no idea what to do with your hands. But if you stay there, if you don't immediately reach for the next distraction, the next person chase, the next external validation to orient yourself around, something begins to happen. You start to notice things, small things, the way your breath moves in and out of your body without you having to tell it to, the way morning light falls across the floor in a pattern you never noticed before because you were always too busy planning, strategizing, imagining conversations that might make them understand. You start to notice that you have preferences, small quiet preferences that have nothing to do with anyone else. You like your coffee a certain way. You feel calm when you walk a particular route. You have thoughts that belong only to you. Thoughts that don't need to be shared or validated or understood by another person to be real. This is the return. This is what comes back when you stop chasing. It is not dramatic. It does not arrive with trumpets or revelations written in fire. It arrives in the smallest, most ordinary moments. In the realization that you can sit alone in a room and not feel like you're waiting for something to start. In the discovery that your own company is not a punishment or a void to be filled, but a kind of ground, a kind of home. And this is not something you can force or fabricate. You cannot think your way into it or decide one day to simply feel centered. It comes only when the chasing stops, only when the outward motion ceases and the energy that was always flowing away from you finally has nowhere to go but back. Carl Jung spent much of his life studying this process, though he used different language for it. He spoke of the persona, that mask we wear to meet the world, the version of ourselves we present in order to be accepted, loved, validated. And he spoke of the self, that deeper center, that organizing principle within the psyche that is not concerned with approval or recognition, that simply is. Jung understood that most people live their entire lives identified with the persona, believing that they are the mask, that their worth is determined by how well the mask performs, by how much love it can attract, how much admiration it can gather. And he understood that there comes a moment, often in the middle of life, but sometimes earlier, sometimes later, when a mask begins to crack. When the energy required to maintain it becomes too great. When the person you have been chasing, the validation you have been seeking, suddenly withdraws or reveals itself to be an illusion, and you are left with nothing but the question, who am I when no one is watching? Jung called this process individuation, the journey toward the self. But it is not a journey you can take while you are still chasing. Because chasing is a form of projection. When you chase someone, you are not really chasing them. You are chasing a part of yourself that you have placed onto them. You are chasing the feeling of wholeness you believe they can give you. You are chasing the sense of worth you think their love will confirm. And as long as you are chasing, you are living in a world of symbols and reflections, never quite touching the thing itself, never quite arriving at yourself. So when you stop chasing, what you are really doing is withdrawing the projection. You're taking back the energy you placed onto them and allowing it to return to its source. And this is not a comfortable process, because when the projection is withdrawn, you have to face what it was covering. You have to face the emptiness you were trying to fill, the wound you were trying to heal through their love. The part of yourself you abandoned long ago, perhaps in childhood, perhaps in some moment of shame or rejection, and have been trying to recover ever since by making someone else see you, choose you, hold you in their gaze. In this video, I will share with you 7 inner shifts, 7 quiet signs that indicate this return to center is already happening inside you. These are not things you do. They are things you notice. They are the markers of an internal reorganization that occurs beneath the level of conscious intention. You may recognize some of these signs in your own life right now. You may look back at recent weeks or months and realize that what felt like confusion or loss was actually the beginning of this return. I invite you to stay with me through each of these signs, not to learn them as concepts, but to feel them as lived experience, to see if they resonate with something already moving inside you. The first sign is a strange and subtle one. You notice that you no longer rehearse conversations with them in your mind. For weeks, maybe months, maybe longer, your inner world has been populated by imaginary dialogues. You have scripted what you would say if they reached out. You have crafted the perfect response that would make them understand. You have imagined scenarios where they finally see you, where they apologize, where they realize what they lost. These conversations have played on a loop, a constant background noise in your psyche, and you have believed, on some level, that if you could just find the right words, the right explanation, the right way to present yourself, everything would change. But then one day, you realize the conversations have stopped. Not because you decided to stop them, not because you forced yourself to think about something else, but because the energy that was fueling them has simply dissipated. You reach for the familiar script and find that it no longer interests you. The imaginary dialogue feels hollow, pointless, like trying to have a conversation with a photograph. And this is not because you have become cold or indifferent, but because something inside you has recognized that those conversations were never really about them. They were about you trying to convince yourself that you were worth seeing. And now, slowly, quietly, you are beginning to know that worth without needing their confirmation. This shift often comes with a strange feeling of loss. You may find yourself almost missing the rehearsals, the imaginary arguments, the mental preparation. Because as painful as they were, they also gave you something to do. They gave you a sense of purpose, a problem to solve, a way to stay connected to them, even in their absence. And now that they have stopped, there is a kind of silence, an emptiness. You might interpret this as depression or numbness, but it is not. It is the space that opens when you stop filling your inner world with someone else. It is the pause before something new can emerge. And if you can sit with this silence, if you can resist the urge to immediately find someone new to rehearse conversations with, you will begin to notice that the silence is not empty at all. It is full of your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own presence. And this presence, this simple being with yourself without the mediation of an imaginary other, is the first sign that you are returning to your center. The second sign is that you begin to feel a strange kind of boredom with your own suffering. This may sound harsh, but it is actually a profound shift. For a long time, your pain has been meaningful. It has been the proof of your love, the evidence of your depth, the thing that made you feel alive. You have told the story of what they did to you, how they hurt you, how they didn't see you, and in the telling, you have felt a kind of identity. You have been the one who loved too much, the one who was not chosen, the one who was left behind. And this identity, as painful as it is, has also been strangely comforting. It has given you a role, a narrative, a way to understand yourself. But then something shifts. You find yourself in the middle of telling the story, maybe to a friend, maybe just to yourself, and you hear your own words as if from a distance. And they sound tired, repetitive, worn out. You realize you have told this story so many times that it has lost its charge. It no longer moves you. It no longer feels true in the same way. And this is not because the pain was not real, but because you have outgrown the story. You have extracted from it whatever understanding it had to offer. And now it is just a loop, a habit, a way of staying stuck. This boredom is a gift, though it does not feel like one at first. It feels like you are betraying your own pain, like you are minimizing what happened, like you are letting them off the hook. But you're not. You are simply recognizing that your pain, as valid as it is not the whole truth of who you are. You are recognizing that you have been using the story of your suffering to avoid something deeper. Perhaps to avoid the question of why you were chasing them in the first place. Perhaps to avoid the recognition that you were looking for something in them that you can only find in yourself. And when you become bored with the story, when you can no longer summon the energy to tell it one more time, you create space for a new story to emerge. A story that is not about what they did to you, but about what you are becoming. A story that has you at the center, not as a victim or a hero, but as a person moving through life, learning, growing, returning to yourself. The third sign is that you stop checking. You stop looking at their social media. You stop asking mutual friends about them. You stop driving past their house or the places you used to go together. And this stopping is not a result of willpower or discipline. It is not that you are forcing yourself not to look. It is that the urge to look has faded. You realize one day that it has been a week, maybe two, maybe more, and you have not checked. And when you notice this, you do not feel proud or accomplished. You feel something quieter, a kind of neutrality, a kind of peace, because the checking was never really about getting information. It was about maintaining a connection, however tenuous, however painful. It was about keeping them alive in your psyche, about not letting go. And now, without deciding to let go, you have simply loosened your grip. They are still there, in your memory, in your history, but they are no longer the center of your attention. They are no longer the sun around which your inner world revolves. This shift can be disorienting. You may find yourself wondering who you are without the checking, without the constant monitoring of their life, without the comparison and the longing and the hope that maybe, if you just knew what they were doing, you could figure out how to make them come back. But the truth is, the checking was keeping you fragmented. It was keeping part of you always outside yourself, always in their world, always try to read signs and interpret meanings. And now that you have stopped, that energy is available to you. It is no longer scattered across the internet or tied up in speculation. It is here, with you, in your body, in your present moment. And this is the return. This is what it feels like when a piece of yourself that has been lost comes back home. The fourth sign is that you start to notice your own patterns, not in a self-critical way, but with a kind of curious awareness. You begin to see that this is not the first time you have chased someone who could not meet you. You begin to recognize the familiar shape of it, the way you have always been drawn to people who are unavailable, who are ambivalent, who keep you at a distance while giving you just enough to keep you hoping. And instead of judging yourself for this, instead of falling into shame or self-blame, you become interested. You start to ask questions. What is it about this dynamic that feels so familiar? What am I trying to resolve by choosing people who cannot choose me? What part of my history is being replayed here? And these questions do not come from your thinking mind, from the part of you that wants to fix or solve or understand in order to control. They come from somewhere deeper, from the part of you that is ready to see, ready to know, ready to integrate what has been split off. Jung believed that we repeat what we do not repair, that the unconscious will continue to create situations, to draw us toward people and experiences that mirror our unresolved wounds, not to punish us, but to give us another chance to see, to feel, to heal. And when you stop chasing, when you finally step out of the repetition, you create the space to see the pattern for what it is. You create the space to ask not what is wrong with them, but what is this showing me about myself? What am I believing about my worth? What am I afraid will happen if I am truly seen? What did I learn long ago about love and safety and belonging that is still running the show beneath my conscious awareness? This kind of inquiry is not intellectual. It is not about analyzing yourself into understanding. It is about sitting with the pattern, feeling it in your body, noticing where it lives, what it protects, what it costs you. And as you do this, as you bring awareness to what has been unconscious, the pattern begins to loosen. Not because you have defeated it or transcended it, but because you have seen it. And in the seeing, in the recognition, something shifts. You are no longer completely identified with it. You are no longer the pattern. You are the one who sees the pattern. And this is the beginning of freedom. The fifth sign is that you feel a pull towards solitude, but it is not the solitude of loneliness. It is not the isolating, heavy solitude that comes from feeling rejected or unwanted. It is something different. It is a desire to be alone, not because you are avoiding people, but because you are curious about yourself. You want to know what it feels like to move through a day without performing, without managing how you are perceived, without the constant low-level anxiety of wondering if you are enough. You want to sit in silence and see what arises. You want to take a walk without listening to anything, without filling the space, without distracting yourself from yourself. And this desire is not born from discipline or self-improvement. It is born from a kind of homesickness, a longing to return to yourself after having been away for so long. In this solitude, you begin to discover things, small things. You discover that you have a rhythm, a natural pace that is different from the pace you adopted to match theirs, to keep up with them, to make yourself available to them. You discover that you have preferences you forgot you had. You remember that you used to love certain things before you started shaping your life around someone else's needs and moods. You remember what it feels like to be in your own company without the background hum of anxiety about whether they are thinking of you, whether they miss you, whether they regret losing you. And in this remembering, you start to feel more solid, more real, not because you have become someone new, but because you have returned to someone old, someone who was there all along, waiting quietly beneath the noise of chasing and longing and trying to be seen. This solitude is not permanent. It is not about becoming a hermit or rejecting connection. It is about recalibrating. It is about spending enough time with yourself that you remember what it feels like to be centered, to be grounded, to be whole without needing someone else to complete you. And from this place, when you do eventually connect with others, you will connect differently. Not from me, but from choice. Not from emptiness, but from fullness. Not because you're trying to fill a void, but because you have something to share. The sixth sign is that you begin to feel compassion for them. Not the kind of compassion that excuses what they did or makes you want to go back. Not the kind of compassion that is really just a disguise for hope, for the secret belief that if you are understanding enough, they will finally see your worth and return. But a genuine, detached compassion that comes from recognizing their humanity. You begin to see that they, too, are struggling. That they, too, are living out their own patterns, their own wounds, their own unconscious fears. You begin to understand that their inability to meet you is not a reflection of your value, but a reflection of their capacity. And this understanding does not make you want to save them or fix them or wait for them to heal. It simply allows you to release them, to wish them well from a distance, to recognize that your paths diverged not because something went wrong, but because you were always walking toward different destinations. This compassion often comes as a surprise. You may have spent weeks or months feeling angry, betrayed, abandoned, and those feelings are valid. They are part of the process. But underneath the anger, underneath the hurt, there is this softer layer, this recognition that everyone is doing the best they can with the level of consciousness they have, that no one is a villain in their own story, that the person who hurt you is also a person who is hurting, who is afraid, who is lost in their own way. And seeing this does not mean you condone their behavior or open yourself to being hurt again. It simply means you are no longer carrying the weight of resentment. You are no longer bound to them through anger. You are free. And this freedom is not about them. It is about you. It is about reclaiming the energy that was tied up in blame and bitterness and redirecting it toward your own life, your own growth, your own becoming. Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject and project onto others. And often, the people we chase, the people we cannot let go of, are carrying our shadow. They are embodying the parts of ourselves we cannot face. The unavailability we see in them is the unavailability we feel toward ourselves. The rejection we experience from them is the rejection we have internalized long ago. And when we stop chasing them, when we withdraw the projection, we are left with the shadow. And if we can turn toward it, if we can meet it with curiosity instead of judgment, we can integrate it. We can become whole. The seventh sign is the quietest and perhaps the most profound. You begin to trust your own timing. You stop feeling like you are behind, like you have wasted time, like you should be further along. You stop comparing your life to others. Stop measuring your worth by external milestones. You begin to sense that everything that has happened, even the pain, even the chasing, even the loss, has been part of a larger process. A process that is not linear, not logical, not something you can control or rush. You begin to trust that you're exactly where you need to be, that the stopping, the returning, the quiet reorganization happening inside you is not a detour, but the path itself. This trust is not blind optimism. It is not a denial of difficulty or pain. It is a deep, embodied knowing that life is not something you master or conquer, but something you participate in, that you are not separate from the process, but part of it. That the same intelligence that grows a tree from a seed, that heals a wound without you having to think about it, that turns winter into spring, is also at work in you. And when you stop chasing, when you stop trying to force outcomes, when you stop gripping so tightly to how you think things should be, you create space for this intelligence to move. You create space for synchronicity, for unexpected openings, for the right people and opportunities to find you, not because you hunted them down, but because you were finally still enough to be found. Jung spoke of synchronicity as meaningful coincidence, as moments when the inner and outer worlds align in ways that cannot be explained by cause and effect. And these moments tend to happen not when we are striving and grasping, but when we are in a state of receptivity, of openness, of trust. When we have stopped chasing one particular outcome and have become available to what wants to emerge. And this is not magical thinking. It is not about sitting back and waiting for the universe to deliver. It is about recognizing that when you are centered, when you're aligned with yourself, you perceive differently. You notice things you would have missed when you were focused only on one person, one goal, one narrow definition of success. You become attuned to the subtle currents of your own life, and you begin to move with them instead of against them. All of these signs, these 7 quiet shifts, are not separate. They are facets of the same process. The process of returning to yourself. The process of withdrawing your energy from external validation and redirecting it inward. The process of becoming whole not by adding something new, but by reclaiming what was always yours. And this process does not happen all at once. It is not a single moment of awakening or transformation. It is slow, gradual, layered. You may move through these signs in order, or you may experience them all at once, or you may circle back to earlier ones even as you move forward. There is no right way to do this. There is only your way, your unique path of returning. And the beautiful, paradoxical truth is that the moment you stop chasing them, the moment you let go of the need for them to see you, to choose you, to validate you, you become more attractive. Not to them, necessarily, though sometimes that happens, but to yourself and to the people who are capable of meeting you. Because when you are centered, when you're grounded in your own worth, you emit a different frequency. You're no longer desperate or grasping. You're no longer trying to convince anyone of your value. You simply know it, and that knowing is magnetic. It draws toward you the people and experiences that are aligned with who you are becoming, not who you were when you were still chasing. But this is not why you stop chasing. You do not stop chasing in order to become attractive or to manifest a better relationship. You stop chasing because you finally understand, in your bones, that no one else can give you what you are looking for. That the love you've been seeking, the recognition you've been craving, the sense of wholeness you have been pursuing, can only come from within. And this is not a consolation prize. It is not a lesser version of what you wanted. It is the real thing. It is the source. Everything else, every external relationship, every moment of connection with another person, is a reflection of this inner relationship. And when the inner relationship is solid, when you have returned to your center, The outer relationships become richer, deeper, more authentic. Because you are no longer looking for someone to complete you. You are looking for someone to share your completeness with. So if you are in that moment right now, if you have recently stopped chasing, if you're sitting in that strange, disorienting silence, wondering what comes next, I want you to know that nothing has gone wrong. You have not failed. You have not given up. You have simply stopped moving in the wrong direction. And now, in the stillness, in the quiet, in the absence of all that forward motion, something is happening. Something is returning. You may not feel it yet. You may still feel raw, exposed, uncertain. But beneath the surface, beneath the noise of your thoughts and fears, there's a reorganization taking place. The scattered pieces of yourself are finding their way back. The energy that was always flowing outward is turning inward. And in that turning, in that return, you are becoming whole. This is not a process you can rush. You cannot think your way through it or force it to happen faster. You can only allow it. You can only create the conditions for it by continuing to not chase, by continuing to sit with yourself, to notice yourself, to be curious about yourself, by continuing to withdraw your projections and reclaim your energy, by continuing to trust that even when you cannot see the destination, even when you do not know what comes next, you are moving in the right direction. You are moving toward yourself, and that is the only direction that matters. There is a practice you can do if you feel called to it. It is very simple. In the morning, before you reach for your phone, before you start planning your day or replaying yesterday, sit for a few moments in silence. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your breath. And ask yourself, what do I need today? Not what do I need to do, not what do I need to accomplish, but what do I need? And then listen, not with your thinking mind, but with your body. See what arises. It may be a word. It may be an image. It may just be a feeling. And whatever it is, honor it. Let that be your compass for the day. Let that guide you back to yourself again and again whenever you notice you have drifted outward, whenever you catch yourself beginning to chase. Another practice, equally simple, right? Not for anyone else. Not to post or share or make sense of. Just write. Let the words come without editing, without judging, without trying to make them beautiful or coherent. Write about what you are feeling, what you are noticing, what you are afraid of, what you are beginning to understand. Write until you feel a shift, until you feel something release, until you feel a little more space inside. This writing is not about producing anything. It is about processing. It is about giving your inner world a place to land, a place to be seen, even if only by you. And in the seeing, in the witnessing of your own experience, you become more present to yourself. You become more real. And finally, practice noticing. Throughout your day, pause, just for a moment. Notice where you are. Notice what you are doing. Notice how you are feeling. Notice if you are present or if your mind has drifted to them, to the past, to the imagined future. And when you notice you have drifted, do not judge yourself. Simply come back. Come back to your breath. Come back to your body. Come back to this moment. Because this moment is where your center is. Not in the past, not in the future, not in someone else's life. Here, now, in the simple, ordinary, miraculous fact of your own existence. These practices are not about self-improvement. They are not about becoming a better version of yourself or fixing what is broken. They are about remembering what it feels like to be home in yourself. Remembering that you do not need to chase anything or anyone to be whole. Remembering that the center you are returning to was never lost. It was only obscured. And now, in the stopping, in the stillness, in the quiet turning inward, it is revealing itself again. So let this be your permission. Permission to stop. Permission to rest. Permission to not know what comes next. Permission to be in the uncertainty, the in-between, the space where the old story has ended and the new story has not yet begun. Because this space, uncomfortable as it is sacred. It is the space where transformation happens. It is the space where you remember who you are beneath all the roles and masks and strategies. It is the space where you return to your center. And when you are centered, when you are grounded in yourself, you will know what to do. Not because someone tells you, not because you have figured it all out, but because you'll be able to hear your own inner guidance. You will be able to trust your own knowing. You will be able to move through life not from fear or need or the desperate hope that someone will finally see you, but from a place of quiet confidence, a place of self-possession, a place of wholeness. This is what returns when you stop chasing. Not a person, not a relationship, not an external validation, but yourself, the truest, deepest, most essential part of yourself, the part that has always been there, waiting patiently for you to come home. If this resonated with you, if you recognize yourself in any of these signs, I invite you to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, and to share your experience in the comments. Not because I need you to, but because your words may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Your story may be the permission someone else needs to stop chasing, to turn inward, to begin their own return. We are all walking each other home, and sometimes all it takes is one person saying, "I see you. I have been there. You are not alone." So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for having the courage to stop chasing and start returning. This is the work. This is the path. And you are exactly where you need to be.